Hello, greetings from a scorching hot North London. I've been out on a long walk doing another bit of the Piccadilly line with my son and my wife earlier today. So please excuse the slightly sunburned looking face going on here. Welcome to another one of these monthly lives where I talk to Ukrainian teachers of English to try to find out what's happening in Ukraine at the moment, to find out how the war is affecting Ukrainians, how it's affecting teachers and their students, and how teachers are coping during these kind of troubled times. For, I guess, fairly obvious reasons, the conflict between Israel and Iran and the ongoing horrors that Israel's committing in Gaza have been occupying a lot of public attention recently. Just today I was reading that 80 people have been killed in Gaza again. It just seems to be day after day after day of 50, 60, 70, 80 people being killed. And obviously this attracts more headlines than what's happening in Ukraine. This doesn't mean that nothing's happening in Ukraine. It simply means that Ukraine's kind of suffering by falling down the news headline cycle in a way. Those of you who've been paying attention, you'll know that recently there was a huge attack in Kiev where more than 20 people were blown up in an apartment block. A train was hit in Dmytro. Again, killing more than 20 people. One of my students in Odessa messaged me yesterday because the block next to him was hit, I think, on Friday night, and 3 or 4 people were killed there. And it's just this relentless, ongoing series of random terror attacks. Last night, Russia was using cruise missiles to try to target cities in the far west of Ukraine, like Lviv and Ivano-Frankivsk, which so far have been relatively unscathed by the war, but they're obviously being targeted. One thing that's very noticeable is that since Trump came to power, Russia has launched more attacks and is acting with greater impunity. Ukraine is clearly struggling to some degree. The actual territorial land grabs that the Russian army are making is remarkably small. But I think one of the things that people don't understand is that by playing a long game, Putin is hoping for political destabilization, not only in Ukraine, but also in other Western European countries. Here in the UK, I saw stickers when I was out today everywhere saying welfare, not warfare, as though we have a choice between the two, as though we can somehow ignore the fact that we have to prepare ourselves for the coming storm and just spend the money on welfare instead. And I think what Putin is hoping to do is to place Western European countries in a position where we have to increase our spending on the military and on weaponry because of the threat that Russia clearly poses as it, continues to gear its economy towards a kind of forever war. And it's hoping that the process of forcing Western European countries to kind of copy this will cause political destabilization in our own countries. I think that's the backdrop against which today's talk's going to take place. Those of you who regularly watch these will know that I haven't talked to, I don't think, any Ukrainian guys. But today is a first time for everything. I'm going to be talking to one of my students, actually, Dmytro, who's in Kiev. And we chat quite a lot on Instagram, often just about fairly banal things like football. He supports the wrong team, but you can't have everything in life. Today we're going to talk a bit more about his life and his experiences and his teaching realities at the moment. So let me just see if I can add Dmytro now. 1 second. Even though it's boiling hot, I'm still drinking tea. Aha. Hey, Dmytro. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear. Can you hear me?
I can. Hello, mate. How are you?
Oh, hello. Fine, thank you. Good.
Yeah?
Nice to see you. Right.
And you. And you. I guess I should begin just by asking how you've been in Kiev and how your last few nights have been, and have you managed to sleep, and how things have
Well,
been.
so far so good. Well, first of all, I would like to say thank you for inviting me to experience this new thing in my life. To be honest, I'm a little bit nervous because I've never done live streams before, so I don't know. I hope everything will be fine, will go well. I'm okay. So this night was not quiet, unfortunately, again, but like comparatively quiet with the previous night that we had before. Yeah. So there was another uh, rocket and drones attack. I guess you have seen it in the news.
Yeah.
But mainly they were targeting different regions. I mean, not Kiev or Kiev region. So it was like western regions and
Mm.
in the central part of Ukraine. Yeah. So unfortunately, it has become the routine. So the war has definitely routinized a lot, and it just, like another day has gone, and we're alive, and
And are you
we
managing? I know this is a difficult question because you've got a young child as well, but are you managing? Are you managing to sleep okay?
Yeah, actually, yeah, we somehow like we manage to sleep well, and as I have said, we have already got used to this. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
that is like horrible truth of our life, but that is the reality. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, Dmytro, was because partly because I haven't had any I don't think any guys on this series I've been doing. So this is the first. But also I was interested
Like
in
a
the fact that
pioneer, yes, I'll be a pioneer, a
hey,
kind of pioneer.
it's a good way to look at it. And I was interested in the fact that you grew up in Lugansk, in the Lugansk region, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. I was born and raised in Luhansk, and since 2014, I've been living here in Kiev. So that's like the war came to us 11 years ago, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember that we left on June 12th, if I
Can
remember
I
right.
rewind a bit before then? Can you just talk a little bit about what it was like growing up in Lugansk and what your childhood was like and a bit about your family and stuff as well, if you don't mind?
Yeah, yeah, no problem for sure. Can you hear me well? Because I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that
all good.
yeah,
All good.
it's all good. Because I'm using my phone and
Me too.
all right. Right. So, my native city, my hometown, Luhansk. Here, I was born and raised there, as I said before, and I have lived like 30 years of my life there. So, I was born 1983. So that was like late Soviet times. To be honest, I don't remember them. I mean, like there are some kind of memories from my childhood, but some kind of occasional memories. So it was just. Not easy time. So after the collapse of the USSR, those so-called crazy 90s. So my family. So I was born in the usual family. My dad used to work at the factory. My mom, she was working at the factory as well. So I was born in the city. So I used to live in the very city center. So like on the balance in general, my childhood was pretty cool. Was like a happy one in spite of the difficulties many kids of my age, of my generation, had to experience. I mean, like lack of money. Yeah, but we didn't mind that much because like my basic needs, all my basic needs were covered. So I was never hungry. I had something to wear. So I would go to school and like uh, had that kind of happy, careless free time, of childhood.
And so you would have been like what, 8 when Ukraine became independent?
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
8. Yeah, and actually, I went to school in the 1990, and that was technically the Soviet time. Yeah, but I don't remember actually, to be honest, my first year at school. I remember that, um, like, well, I remember myself as a pupil already being in Ukraine, so I don't associate myself with Soviet times. Although
yeah.
technically I was born in the Soviet Union, but I don't have those kind of this Soviet mentality whatsoever, like at all, no way. I
No,
just
no,
remember that it
no
was
nostalgia for May Day
absolutely,
parades
absolutely
or
no.
yeah,
I can tell even more that I have always believed and considered that Soviet Union was the greatest tragedy of the 20th century, was the biggest tragedy. To my mind, it was even bigger and more horrible and more evil than German Nazi, than Hitler, Hitler Germany. So I believe that was the biggest evil of the 20th century, and the consequences actually which we are experiencing today.
still
So
still
still, yeah.
experiencing.
So we can see that our crazy neighbor is trying to pull us back, and I even like before all those events, like in my youth time, I don't know, for some reason I could never accept the fact of this Soviet power, Soviet regime. So I was like interested in history a lot and watched and read different books and stories like before the internet became the
And when you
integral
were
part.
growing up, were you growing up in a Russian speaking family, Dmytro?
Yes, sure. It's
Yeah,
Luhansk. Come on, yeah, Luhansk.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah. I
kind of
mean,
95. I don't know, like 100% probably Russian-speaking population. And there's another thing that has always kind of confused me when people would say that Russian language is discriminated. It has never been discriminated. Ukrainian language has always been discriminated. And though. We like I used to study Ukrainian in school, so we had like school subject Ukrainian literature, Ukrainian language, like on a regular basis. All the 11 years of my school life, it was a part of our program. I can tell even more that my grandma and my grandpa, from like my mother's line, they are from the western part of Ukraine. So my grandma was born in Zhytomyr region, in the small town called Malin.
okay.
Malin. And then when the war broke out, I mean the Second World War broke out, the family had to evacuate to the west, to Ternopil region. So she grew up there. She graduated from school there, and she even graduated from school, and she studied in Lviv, in what it was called. Nowadays it is called like Academy of Printing. So back those days, I don't remember how it was called, but she studied in Lviv, and after degradation, there was some kind of practice in Soviet times to send students to different parts of the Soviet Union,
Yeah,
and was kind of a mandatory thing. So you had no, like, almost no choice. So like they would tell you go there, and you would have to go there. And my grandma, she was sent to the east of Ukraine, so to back those days it was called Voroshilovgrad, not Luhansk. Luhansk, like in the Soviet times, it was called Voroshilovgrad. Yeah, the city was called like that because like it was named after the uh, communist leader Clement Voroshilov. Yeah,
yeah,
so
okay.
yeah, a little bit of history. So the guy who was actually he was born and raised like in Luhansk, the Luhansk region. So that's why the city was named after him. He was actually a very close ally of Stalin. Like he was in some period of his career, he was something like even the right hand of Stalin. So they were very close, and so that's why the city was named after him. But after the collapse of the USSR, the historical name was returned. So it was Luhansk, yeah, and it became Luhansk again. So that's why when my grandma graduated from the university, she was sent to the east of Ukraine, and she didn't. I remember she told me the story that when she came to her dean to ask like where I'm going, and she asked if Voloshilovgrad was in Ukraine, so she didn't even know that it was part of Ukraine. Yeah, and she was a Ukrainian speaking person, and after the relocation to the east, she had to switch to Russian language. Otherwise, you couldn't survive there. So
Yeah.
that was the reality back those days. Yeah, if you wanted to succeed in your career, if you wanted to like achieve some kind of success, so you had to speak Russian language there. And she was bullied there. She told me stories that people would call her Banderivka, because she was Ukrainian speaking person, but
God,
that
even then, that was still being used as a
yes,
term of
yes, yes.
abuse.
Back those days, yeah, she was called Banderivka, and that was
Uh,
pretty hard period. Well, so she was forced basically to switch to Russian language and became a Russian-speaking person, as well as my grandpa, like her husband. He was also from the western part of Ukraine, so they moved together, and so the same story. So they all had to Russify themselves, let's say. So that was
yes.
their conscious policy of their Soviet Union to Russify everybody. So
Yeah.
so that's why when they're saying that Russian language is discriminated, so it's a total sorry, but bullshit, yeah, and lies, and
So
it has
say it how
never.
you feel it.
Yeah, it has never been like that. So that's why I was growing in a Russian-speaking environment, but I would always associate myself with Ukraine. I mean, like I never had some kind of strong attraction to Russia, though I have a lot of relatives actually from my father's line, my grandpa, my grandma, my aunt, my cousin, my uncle. They are all living in Moscow. I mean, like my grandpa and grandma, they already passed away, and yeah, but I still have relatives living there, but we're not in touch with them at all. So all their I would say even bridges are burned. So though we have always been we always had very strong, this family bond. So they would always come to us to visit. We would always come to them to Moscow. I never liked actually Moscow, to be honest, as a city, especially for me, like the guy from the province to come to the huge metropolis. That was uh, usually a cultural shock, yeah. And I never felt really comfortable in comparison to Kiev, yeah. When I always come to visit Kiev, I mean, in the past, in my students' life, in my school times, I would always feel a lot more comfortable here. I felt like home here, though
Yeah.
I never had any relatives or family living here, yeah. So we had very kind of strong and great, I would say, relationship. I really loved my family, and for me, it was always kind of a holiday to meet them. But after 2014, so really people got like literally crazy. They got really sick. So much hate, yeah, towards us. Starting with like early days of Maidan from 2014, they would call me like my Danut, me, my wife, my mom. They would call my Danuti, Banderovci, a bunch of different offensive terminology they would use towards us, really. So
And this is after they've been to visit you, and they've been to Lugansk loads of times, and they've been in
so
Ukraine, and
I can tell you even more that
it's just
no, yeah, that's kind of beyond my understanding. So it's so hard to. I mean, like nowadays I understand because they have always been like that. Yeah, I just never paid attention, mm, to this kind of tone of their attitude to us. So they would really always consider us to be like inferior, that they are superior, that they are better, that they are like they never demonstrated it openly, but like nowadays with the hindsight, I like remembering those family talks, those discussions, conversations. I now I understand what they really meant. Yeah, maybe they did it subconsciously, not consciously. Yeah, but it's kind of on their genetic probably level.
yeah.
Though people, they are educated people. It's not kind of, white trash,
Yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
low quality. I don't know, some.
No, I mean this has been one of the most shocking things for me is seeing a lot of people I used to know.
Educated people. I can tell you more. The husband of my aunt is very clever. They're all very clever people, to be honest. Like I used to think like this. Yeah. So he is a musician. So he plays cello in one of the biggest symphonic orchestras of Russia, like the second one. So they have some kind of rating, and that is the second biggest symphonic orchestra of Russia. So he would, like all his life, he would play there in this orchestra, and he had toured all around the world, like literally all around the globe, millions of times in Europe. So we cannot say that they kind of narrow-minded people. So
Yeah,
they know the world, they know how people live, they travel. They used to travel. Nowadays I don't know because we're not in touch with them. But back those days they would travel twice a year, like minimum, abroad in the winter, in the summer. So like for them it was normal thing, you know. So they could see the life of other people, they could compare it, and they could see the truth, yeah. And they have us living there and being the witnesses of everything that was what was going on, and they didn't believe us. They told us that we were spreading fakes, it's not true, like this typical Russian propaganda narrative. And for me it was really shocking. I mean, starting with 2014, I can tell even more. The new year of 2013, 2014, we traveled, my wife and I, we traveled to Moscow to celebrate the new year with my friends. Like my close friends used to live there, and they invited us to come. And we came to Moscow. By the way, we came there by plane from Donetsk airport. So that was my
the
first and
famous
the last.
one.
Yeah, yeah. And it was my first and the last time that I've been to Donetsk airport. And I remember my impression when I came there was like, wow, it was just unbelievably great. I couldn't believe that it's kind of here in Ukraine, like next
Yeah,
to my city. After visiting Donbass Arena, for example, yeah, that
yeah,
was
yeah.
really mind-blowing experience. Yeah, I haven't been to many stadiums, to be honest, but I can say for sure that it was one of the best, if not the best, in Europe. Yeah, totally, like absolutely top five. Just magnificent arena, and this airport. Like I was really proud of it. And as it turned out, the history showed that it was my first and the last time there, unfortunately, in this airport. Yeah, and we celebrated New Year. We came to visit my family. We had a great meeting, great dinner. Like very warm
Yeah, yeah.
family time. Though it was already Maidan, yeah, period. Not that maybe uh,
I
close,
guess it was
close.
like the early days of the Maidan, yeah?
It's not the early days. It was like first days of January, so it was somewhere
Okay,
in the middle. Yeah,
okay.
like a month before the culmination. Yeah, and we were talking about politics. Everything was fine. I mean, so didn't feel any kind of animosity or hatred. Nothing like that. Absolutely, but when so-called Russian Spring, yeah, came to my city, and after the annexation of Crimea, I remember uh, we used to have this social network called Одноклассники, maybe you know, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely creepy, creepy media. Yeah, and I used to have an account there back those days, and I remember my aunt. She changed her status on her page. I don't remember exactly how it sounded, but the idea was um, something like, "I will never forget these days. I will never forget this day. Welcome back, Crimea. Something. Welcome back home, Crimea. Something like that."
yeah.
And
This
when I
whole
read
kind
it,
of Krimnash stuff, yeah?
yes, yes. And when I saw the status, I like immediately deleted my account. Me, my wife, my mom, we like simultaneously, yeah, and unanimously deleted. And then she called my father. I remember her brother, yeah. She calls my father and says, "How dare? How dare? How could they do this? What a shame!" Like she was so indignant that we kind of removed, deleted our accounts. Yeah. Okay. Well, there are many stories. I just don't want to spam our our stream with this, but believe me, my relatives they're really sick. And nowadays, actually, I think when she gets maybe a little bit drunk, because she occasionally sends very abusive messages to to my father. Usually somewhere deep in the night, like 2, 3 a.m. So I mean, like, and they and she's kind of accusing us, like she calls us traitors, that we traded a little betrayed family values, that we are not real Ukrainians, you're a fake nation, a lot of bullshit. Really, it's kind of.
Was your dad born in Russia, Dmytro?
Hmm?
Was your
No,
dad born
no,
in Russia?
no. My dad was born in Luhansk region.
So the rest of the family moved to Moscow later.
Yes. My grandpa, he was born in Russia,
Okay.
and then he was working, like he was working for, how to put it properly, kind of communistic party. So he was kind of one of local authorities in this communistic party hierarchy ladder. Yeah. So
Yeah. Okay.
he was like he was really brilliant and very smart man, and he built pretty successful career. I mean, back those days in the Soviet times, and he was sent to Moscow, from Luhansk.
Yeah.
It was kind of promotion. He was promoted
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
some position to Moscow in the early 80s, like in the 1980s, something, 81 or 82. But my father, he refused moving to Moscow. He said, I would like to stay here in Luhansk. I don't want to live in Moscow. But his sister, along with her parents, so they in the early 80s they moved to Moscow. Though, yeah, they physically they were born. I mean, my aunt, my father, they were born in Luhansk region. But my grandparents, my father's parents, they are from Russia, from Ivanovo, and from Tula. Yeah.
Okay.
So I
And can I ask how you got interested in English? Like, how did that happen? Where did your kind of love affair of English come from, or if that's
yeah,
the right
well,
word?
it has always been a kind of part of my life. Again, just knowing the past, like early 90s, it was not in trend, to speak English, to study English. It became a bit later. And I remember I would study English at school, but it was just like a school, part of school program.
Yeah.
So, but not from the elementary school, from the middle school. Yeah, in the fifth grade, I guess, I had like official my first classes, and then my parents, they would provide me some one-to-one classes. There was in my neighborhood there was a teacher, and I would attend occasionally her classes. Then there was another teacher, yeah, and so nothing significant, nothing something special there was, and but the turning point happened when I joined. Okay, so my school officially was a specialized school of foreign languages, but we
Okay.
had different grades, like different classes there, and I was not a part of this kind of specialized groups. But in the eighth grade, I was transferred to this specialized class. It meant that I had a lot more English classes and like English related subjects. So like every day we would have like minimum 2, 3 classes of English a day. Yeah, and that was a great. It was time of my like really significant progress. I could feel it. I had a wonderful teacher. She was very young lady. She was like really. She was 19 years old. So
Wow.
it was like there was no very big age difference. Like
Yeah.
we were
Yeah. Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like 14. She was 19, 20, and we were like on the same wavelength, I would say. To be honest, I was even in love with her. This teenage.
This always helps motivation.
Yeah, that was really motivating thing. Yeah, and it also coincided. Actually, that period of my life also coincided with the explosion in my life in the form of the Beatles. So I'm a huge fan of the Beatles, and I don't, to be honest, I don't remember how it happened. I don't remember this exact moment, but it was that period of time when I was 13, 14 years old, when I like discovered and opened the world of the Beatles to myself. Yeah, and that was really mind blowing thing to me. So just because there was no internet available, there was not just simple internet back those
Yeah.
days, and I would have to listen to their music on the cassettes. You know, I didn't have a CD player even, so I would try to find any kind of information possible. And I remember, yeah, and I tried to comprehend what they were singing, you know, myself. And I remember a friend of my father, he was a like experienced Beatle man. He found like, and he was like working like early IT. Yeah, he was a kind of a programmer or software developer back those days, and he managed to find all the lyrics of their songs, and he printed them out. Yeah, and that was maybe one of the greatest presents to me, and I could really listen to and read what they were singing about. And actually, to be honest, I was pretty close in correct comprehension of what they were singing before I got those texts, those lyrics. Yeah, so that was kind of a big boost to me as well.
And I
And
think some of the lyrics, there's probably no point trying to understand. But by the time you get on to like "I am the walrus" or
I'm
something,
the
you
one.
know,
Yes,
good luck with that.
yes, yes. That's yeah. Late Beatles were kind of experimental, and not only in terms of the music, but in the terms of the lyrics as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that was a great, I would say, inspiring power to me, you know, to not to give up learning English. So the environment where I was studying and the music itself. So, and when I was graduating from school, that was in 2000. Again, that was pretty hard time for my family in terms of financial stability. Yeah, there was a question, like a dilemma, where what to do next, where to go after school. And since English like was my favorite subject and I was quite good at it, my parents decided, well, they suggested me trying linguistics. Yeah, and I entered the university. So the faculty was called translation and interpretation, and actually we were the very first year.
Still in Lugansk at this point.
Yes, it was in
Yeah.
Luhansk. Everything was in Luhansk. Yeah. So and that's how I proceeded with improving my language skills. To be honest, my now I remember it, and I realized that my English after school, like level of English, was better than after graduating from university. Unfortunately, the level of preparation was pretty poor. Yeah, and I remember my teachers; they were really nice people. I mean, like you know, like a human factor. Yeah, but they were pretty weak as professionals, to
Yeah,
be honest. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
so that's why we didn't get that. Probably necessary level of preparation, and I believe that my level, like my English, really degraded to some extent there. It definitely didn't progress significantly at all. But there was one person, one teacher. He was a young guy. He was teaching some kind of English. I don't remember what exactly, and he was really charismatic and interesting personality, and I never ever missed his classes, never ever. And after, like before graduation, he proposed me to join his company. So because university, that was his part-time job, yeah.
Okay.
At the same time, he was running a school of foreign languages in Luhansk, and he proposed like me. He proposed me and two more guys from my group. I mean girls, yeah, to join him. And like I didn't even think of becoming a teacher. I just followed him. Yeah, because I really like him and kind of didn't even question or had any doubts. So he proposed me to join, and I happily took a chance, and here I am. Like it's been for 20 years actually, since 2005. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really weird feeling when you suddenly realize you've been teaching 20 years, yeah?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Technically,
what
yes.
happened to my life?
Yeah,
And
right.
so, can you talk us through 2014? Because,
Hmm.
I mean, one of the things I see a lot still in the West and in Russia is this kind of myth of a civil war in Donbass, and I see these stories of, the genocide of the Russian-speaking people of Donbass, and there's still lots of people I know in the West who basically know nothing about Ukraine, don't know any Ukrainians, but who still believe all of these kind of Russian
Yeah,
stories about what happened. So I think it's always really interesting to hear firsthand from people who were living in those places what your
yeah,
experience of
yeah.
2014 was. And
Yeah, as I told like 10 minutes ago, this Russian Spring thing I remember really pretty vividly and clearly, and I remember like what kind of emotions I experienced back those days. Um, there is a kind of like some people I don't know like nowadays, but in the past, some people in Ukraine, they used to believe that um, that the local people were behind it. Yeah, that those like we were the people who destabilized the situation, who wanted to
yeah,
separate, like we are separatists. It's kind of that is fake. That's a myth, absolutely. Because well, first of all. We didn't understand what was going on there, to be honest. Situation was escalating very quickly, and I can tell you for sure, definitely there were people who supported, who wanted to separate, but that was a huge minority of them, at least in my environment. Like since I have like I used to work there as a teacher, and our school was number one in the market. So everybody who wanted to study English in Lugansk, they would come to us. We had different offices, like we had 3 locations back those days in the city. The city itself, you should understand, like on the one hand, it's pretty big one. So the population used to be about 600,000 people, like half a million.
yeah,
It's on the one hand, it's pretty big one. On the other hand, many people knew each other. These
yeah,
like people who know people, and like in my environment, in my bubble, nobody, like zero people supported those separatistic movements. I didn't even know those people. I couldn't understand who were they. So um, when I went out, I would walk along the streets, and okay, and as I said before, I used to live in the very city center, right in the heart of it. So the government administration buildings were just maybe like 200 meters away from me. So it was like in the epicenter of all those events. And when that demonstrations were organized, like pro-Russian demonstrations, um, funny enough, these pro-Russian demonstrations and protests, they were organized on the square named like Shevchenko Square with the Shevchenko Monument. So they would protest next to Shevchenko Monument. That's kind of ridiculous thing. Are maybe like 500, maybe up to kilometer away from these pro-Russian demonstrations. They were pro-Ukrainian demonstrations, and that was such a huge difference, that you could see. I mean, what kind of people were there? So when I like walked around these pro-Russian demonstrations, I saw those people, and they were not local people, but like
yeah,
I swear, I don't know, it's 100% true that they were not locals. I could see that, I could hear it, I could hear what language they were speaking. They were not speaking, yeah, they were speaking Russian, of course, but it was a different accent. It was
yeah,
not local accent. They were people who were simply brought to us
yeah.
by
They're kind of
buses from,
bussed in, basically. Yeah,
yes, by buses from neighboring towns and villages. I mean, neighboring Russian villages and towns, just to come and create this kind of illusion, this picture for the media that look at the people, they are protesting. Of course, they were local people, definitely, but as I said before, they were not this driving force that would
yeah,
destabilize everything there. Absolutely no. So the driving force were people brought from Russia, yeah, and you had to see those people, yeah. They were kind of marginals, very aggressive. often they were simply drunk, simply wasted, or maybe they were high, I don't know, but they were not adequate. So you could see this aggression in their eyes, and it was kind of scary. Like, what is going on here? Like, what are you doing here? Who are you? I don't know you. You don't belong here. It's not your place. Yeah. And then you go to the pro-Ukrainian demonstration and you see like a far cry, absolutely different reality, beautiful faces, nice people with kids, very friendly atmosphere, singing songs, versing some poetry, um, I don't know, just kind of hanging out, having this peaceful, sunny day. Because usually these demonstrations, they would take place on Sundays, every Sunday, on the
Yeah.
early days of this Russian spring. Its later situation escalated when they began occupying the administrative buildings. Yeah, it happened somewhere in April. And actually, I was a witness. It was like in real time. I remember it was on Sunday, April the 6th. I remember. I was walking with my daughter. She was she was a small child back those days in the park. And there was the park just across the road from the SBU, this Secret Service of
Yeah.
Ukraine,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the headquarters of Luhansk region. Yeah, the building was raided by group of I don't remember how many, I don't know actually how many of them they were, but they didn't have any guns, so they literally had sticks and stones and this aggression, so they would just come and uh, occupy the building with no resistance whatsoever. I was watching this kind of in real time, and I was like, what is going on? Yeah. So, and they were not local people mostly. Yeah. The driving force was brought from Russia to destabilize the situation. Yeah, and the situation was escalating. So they after their occupying the SBU building, they kind of built like they call it anti-Maidan camp. So they literally blocked the street, the central street. They set up kind of a camp, with a bunch of strange people living there. Again, not local people. They were this real, like, I don't know if you can say, like, this second third sort of people. I mean, poor, some homeless bums, whatever. I don't know who they were there, but they got some kind of power and they felt it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there was no resistance. I mean, there was no resistance from the law enforcement structures, police or SBU. Um, yeah, it's a pity because our local so-called local elite, yeah, they were really pro Russian elite, yeah, and as well as in Donetsk, for instance.
They'd basically been bought off. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, for instance, in Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, Dnipro, they managed to fight them back, yeah,
Yeah.
because local elite was interested in it because they didn't want to lose their businesses, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they were kind of like super patriots or pro-Ukrainian. I don't think so. For example, like Kolomoisky, it's a famous oligarch. Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was just
Yeah. Yeah.
they were just their personal interests. They didn't want to lose their businesses. It just coincided, the interest of the country and their personal interests. In my case, I mean, in the case of Donetsk and Luhansk, unfortunately, it didn't work out. Yeah, because local elites were very pro-Russian, and that's why there was no resistance. So that's why those separatists, those marginals, so easily occupied and taking those administrative and government buildings. Yeah, and like April, and it was in April, and in May they organized so-called referendum. Yeah, this pseudo referendum.
This was like the Lugansk People's Republic
Yeah,
independence
yeah, 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 yeah,
referendum
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yes, and like we still couldn't believe that it was for real. Like because it all looked so ridiculous. It was kind of freak show, but it turned out to be true, you know. And the turning point was on the 2nd of June. That's when first gunshots ran out in the city, when separatists tried to take some military. There was a military, what, how to put it properly, department, yeah. Some military unit was located in the city, and separatists tried to take it. Yeah, and those guys actually resisted. They would fight back, and that's when the first gunshots ran out, and there was the first blood. Actually, there was made a movie. By the way, there was made a movie maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, which is called Mirny 21. Mirny, this is the name of the district where this military unit was disposed.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's some kind of film based on a true story. Yeah, trying to retell the events of those days. So that's why if the guys that are watching us right now never watched this film before, I would strongly recommend it. Actually, it's available on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I'm
I'll
not
check it
mistaken.
out.
Yeah. Well, and so that was the moment when a friend of mine from Kiev, she called me. I remember it was Monday. Yeah, she called me and told me to propose to come to Kiev. Like she told me, take your family, come here. She had an apartment here available, and I was like, okay, because the situation was really getting worse. Many people began escaping, running away. My friends, and I remember we didn't even know what to do. But thanks to my friend, so she was really kind to us. So she proposed this option, and 10 days later, because I couldn't find tickets, yeah, train tickets were not available because I had a little child and I needed some kind of normal tickets. And
Yeah.
and actually, situation somehow stabilized within those 10 days. It was pretty quiet. And when we left on June 12th, maybe 2-3 days later, the actual war began. I mean, situation began escalating because that was the continuation of anti-terroristic operation, and yeah, but we somehow managed to avoid it.
And when you left, Dmytro, what was your expectation? I mean, what did you think?
Like everybody's expectation, we thought it wouldn't last for a long time. Because we literally had only 2 backpacks and a suitcase. That's it. Because it was
Yeah.
summer, we thought we would go there for a couple of weeks, maybe maximum for the summertime. Yeah, that by September we would come back home and continue our lives. But the reality was different. So I saw the situation was getting worse. They were when it stood, it wouldn't finish that quick, that soon. So, and I understood that we need to somehow uh, start our lives from scratch. So we rented an apartment. Because we had to leave that apartment that my friend proposed to us, because she had her relatives living in Donetsk, and they evacuated as well and had to stay in that apartment. And for me, it was a kind of a shocking experience because I had never rented apartments before in my life, And to be honest, I didn't have a lot of money. I remember that I had 20,000 hryvnias. So back those days, that was something like about $1,000. That was my
Yeah.
whole family budget, to be
Yeah.
honest. All my savings back those days. Yeah, but we didn't kind of give up, or we're not complaining. So we began working.
Well, what happened to the school that you'd been working for?
Yeah, the school, we launched it here in Kiev, but that was not very successful because it was chaotic, spontaneous decision. So it was not well prepared campaign, and the competition in Kiev is way
Yes.
different than in Luhansk.
Yeah.
You understand it. But somehow we managed to start because many students from Lugansk came to Kiev and they somehow supported us and they helped us to launch it. Yeah, but in general, that was kind of not very successful. I was taking some part-time jobs. I mean, I was working not only in school, but I was taking some private classes, some corporate classes, and like 2 years later, I quit. So after 11 years, actually, I have worked there for 11 years in this school.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I quit, worked as a freelancer for some time, for a couple of years, and for the last 7 years, I've been working in this IT company, so teaching English to company employees. Yeah.
And when you arrived in Kiev, uh, did you find that people there generally understood what was happening? Or, I mean, I've heard from other friends from like Donetsk area that when they ended up like in Lviv or in
Mhm.
Ivano-Frankivsk or whatever, people were sort of blaming them and saying, "Oh, it's all your bloody fault, you people from Donbass."
I heard those stories. I heard those stories. Me personally, I never experienced such kind of attitude. To me, thank God, like fortunately, maybe unfortunately. So, but I heard those stories when people were refused to rent an apartment just because you had in your passport registration from Luhansk or
Yeah.
Donetsk. Yeah, and actually, it was like they were first-hand stories from my friends, so they were rejected. But me personally, no, I never had this problem. Though people like life in Kiev was totally different. I mean, many people didn't even know what was going on there,
Yeah.
so or they didn't pay much attention to it because they had their lives here. Yeah, we heard something is going on, some kind of republics. What the hell? What are they? But for majority of people, definitely that was not the case.
It felt very distant. Yeah. I mean, I often think about this because you probably know on Facebook I do this kind of, day 1200 of the war or whatever.
Hmm.
And every time I write it, I'm very conscious of the fact that I'm basically writing from the beginning of the full scale invasion. And
Hmm.
that for lots of people like yourself, or people from Crimea, or people from
Yeah,
Donetsk,
it began
it began a
earlier.
long time ago.
A long time ago. So we had experience.
Yeah. And when you were in Kiev, what was your expectation then? Was it like, did you feel that the war would come further, or did you feel that it had stopped? Or, I mean, when did you kind of, did you have any expectation that it would keep going, I guess?
Well, to be honest, sir, I had no time to think about this really because I had to like build my life, and I was
Yeah,
not
yeah,
thinking
too
a lot
busy
about
working.
this. Yeah, I was not really thinking a lot about this because the pace of life in Kiev is very different, way different. Yeah,
Yeah,
from
yeah,
home. Yeah, and I would travel, all around the city, visiting different locations, many locations a day. So it was very intensive period, and I didn't have. Uh, Time to think about this. Yeah, I was kind of. Um, I didn't think that I would come back there. Yeah, I wanted to come there to visit my family because my grandma she stayed there, so she didn't want to go anywhere. She said like, "I'm gonna die here. I'm just very happy that you are there." And we were in touch with her on everyday basis. Yeah, and unfortunately, she passed away in from COVID. By the way, in
I'm sorry.
2021. Yeah, she was 86 years old, but she was very energetic. She was like in really good spirits and like mentally and physically, she was really great. Yeah, but definitely COVID unfortunately killed her. But on the other hand, I don't know if I can say this, but like this, but I'm happy that she doesn't see what we have nowadays. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because she had to experience um, that war again. I mean, in 2014, the whole month, like in August, I remember of 2014, we didn't have any connection with her because in
yeah,
Luhansk there was no internet, there was no
yeah,
phone connection, there was no water, so we were absolutely unaware what was if she was alive or not. So absolutely, and that was hard time, and she was like saying that I survived the Second World War because she was a child. She was a child back those days, and in my like late days, I have to experience the war again. But as the history shows, that was a very different war. So that was
Yeah.
like a super light version of what we are having nowadays. So
And do you still have family or friends or anything who stayed in Lugansk, or did everyone you know leave? Or
yeah, my wife's parents, they live in occupation. Yeah, but they are very pro-Ukrainian people, very pro-Ukrainian people.
are you able to contact them? Do you
Yeah, yeah.
maintain
No,
contact?
yeah, like through the internet. Yeah, we're in touch with them. I mean, like before the Fusk invasion, my parents they would travel back to the city, like not that very often, but from time to time. They used to live in Severodonetsk after their 2014, so they settled down there in that city, and they had to run away for the second time, you know, in 2022. Yeah,
Hmm.
so I guess like for people of my parents' generation, that is the most difficult thing. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
again, they lost everything, you know. So, but thank God that they're alive and healthy. That is the most important thing. Yeah. So
What are your memories of 2022, of like February 24th,
I
when the war
remember,
comes for you
yeah,
again?
pretty clear. So, like everybody, like most of the people, I didn't believe in the full-scale invasion. I simply couldn't believe in it. I knew that there would be something, some kind of escalation in the east here, and that's why I told my mom, like, probably you should come to us. She said, "No, this is gonna be fine. Don't worry." Blah blah blah. Yeah, and then it started, and we were woken up by those explosions. That was scary. Yeah, so I was. It was not a panic. It just I was simply lost. I didn't know what to do. You know, and I remember uh, I remember like we had to tell to my daughter to just to explain what is going on because she was scared and she was crying uh, because like she simply couldn't understand what was going on. Like nobody could understand. Yeah, and I remember, yeah, perfectly clear. We went to my friends, to my neighbors. We stayed at their place for the night, and the next day they decided to go to their country house, which is to the south from Kiev, and we went together with them. So we stayed there for about 9 days, and then a friend of mine proposed to stay at his place in Khmelnytsky region in a little village. So there was like available apartment, and we went there and stayed till the end of April. So and then we came back home. Yeah,
And how old's your daughter now, Dmytro?
13. She's 13.
How do you explain to her what's happening?
She perfectly understands. I actually just like a week ago we were or 2 weeks ago, we went for a walk with her for a bicycle ride, and she was just, I don't know, spontaneously, she said, like, I really miss Severodonetsk. I had very beautiful childhood memories, and I want to come back there. And I said, well, unfortunately, not for now, and maybe never. Yeah. And she said, like, those Russians stole my childhood. You know, she said so. Can you imagine? So
Yeah.
the kid realized, like, Russians stole my childhood.
And
And
I guess stole lots of your own childhood memories and childhood experiences as well, yeah? I
yeah,
mean,
but
I can't imagine how it must feel to know that the place that you spent your whole childhood in and that you grew up in and all the streets you knew and all of that are now under
they're different.
occupation.
Yeah, they're very different now. I'm pretty sure. But to be honest, I don't have like super nostalgic memories. You know, yeah, of course it's a pity, but I understand that if I come there today, it will be a very different place. Like
Yeah,
it will have nothing to do with my childhood memories.
yeah.
And yeah, I have, you know, a good thing that like 96 95% of my environment moved away. So
Yeah.
everybody, like we together, began like our lives from scratch in 2014, and it kind of was helpful experience. So we were together, we were not alone, and uh, yeah, I don't have those kind of strong nostalgic memories, but it really hurts when you understand how stupid all this thing is, and uh, how it, the way it happened. Just
Well,
somebody came and took it away from you, stole it away from you, and the way it happened. I mean, how it happened. With all that bullshit propaganda, with all that lies and fakes
I
and
was going to ask you
brainwashing.
about this. I mean, when did you first become aware of the fact that the Russians were doing this massive propaganda job about Lugansk and about Donetsk, and that they were using all of this as a kind of...
2014, of course. When else?
You
Yeah,
understood that immediately?
yeah, right away, because like it was uh, very hard for me to comprehend, and to accept this reality. Just like, why? What the fuck? Come on!
Because I mean, according to Russian
I
propaganda,
wanted to
you are
shout, wanted to
you are our
scream.
people.
No, as I said before, I never, though I had very strong family bonds, I never associated myself with Russia. Yeah, I was Russian-speaking Ukrainian. I would always associate myself with Ukraine. But on the other hand, yeah, we had very strong presence of Russian culture, Russian media, uh, like everything Russian.
Yeah,
Russian was like a huge part of our, like we would watch Russian TV. Come on,
yeah.
simply would watch Russian TV, would listen to Russian music. I would actually support Russian football teams. The national team. I remember it. Yeah, but when it was Ukraine versus Russia, no way. Yeah, but I never said myself and never wanted to be a part of this country. Never ever.
So it was always obvious to you that there was this kind of propaganda machine working, and that you were
Yeah.
being...
No, I mean, like I never paid attention to this. I never thought about it because I would consider them to be our friends.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
we had kind of
Because
friendly relations. But I never wanted to
I
be there.
remember the early days of the war, when I started writing about what was happening, the full-scale war. I used to get these endless messages from teachers in Russia saying, "And where were you for the last 8 years?" And it was just this whole thing of like, where were you when the poor Russian-speaking people of Donbass were being, I don't know, genocided or something? And it must
Yeah.
be really weird knowing that's you, and that you're the person that they're using as an excuse for what they're doing.
Hmm. Yeah, they were using us. That is a good
It's
word. Yeah,
it's
absolutely. They were using us, and that's a shame. It's a pity. Yeah, the way it happens, and I don't know. So. What to of course I believe that Lugansk will be back to Ukraine, Lugansk, Donetsk, Crimea one day, sooner or later. I really believe in this. I sincerely believe in this, and I think it will be so. The question is when and how. Yeah.
yeah.
um, uh, well, I think that we have to some extent we have already won this war because we still exist. Ukraine is still independent and a sovereign country, but we are paying just tremendously horrible price every single day, and it really hurts. It really hurts a lot. I've got many friends, my colleagues, my classmates serving in the army. Thank God nobody was killed or wounded. Thank God all of them are alive, but they are there, yes, and they are super tired and exhausted, but they keep on fighting, and we keep on helping them
Do you
as
mind
much as we can.
if I ask a difficult question here, Dmytro?
Yeah, no problem.
Have you thought about serving yourself?
Every single day, to be honest, it's a very tough moral dilemma to me. I'm not kind of like hiding or dodging. So I'm registered for the military service. So when or if this day comes, so I will, yeah, I will do this. Yeah, maybe like I don't have enough guts, maybe probably to do it now. Yeah. So, but if it happens, I won't be like hiding or running away or dodging. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry to ask. I know it's a
No, no, that's
difficult
okay. That's okay. That's pretty difficult. Yeah. And painful thing, and this moral dilemma. But it is what it is.
I know it's a big tension in Ukrainian society as well, the kind of tension between
Yeah.
people who are serving or who've got family serving and people who aren't, and all of that.
Well, still, maybe to some extent, it's not, again, based on my experience, I haven't felt this tension yet, though I know, as I said, many people and families that whose husbands, brothers, sons are serving, but didn't feel this. But I think that it will be a huge problem. Maybe it's
Yeah.
already. Yeah, I'm not just kind of I haven't witnessed it somehow yet, but definitely there will be, I guess, a serious problem when the war is over, because sooner or later it will be over. Yeah,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
what way we don't know, how and when. But I guess the biggest challenges are yet to come for Ukraine.
Yeah. So I have about three more questions for you, if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted to ask you if your relationship with Russian as a language has changed, and if you still speak Russian, and whether you have any kind of continued relationship with any of the Russian cultural stuff that you grew up around.
Yeah, okay, I won't be lying to you. So I haven't switched fully to Ukrainian language, though I communicate pretty much a lot more than it was before.
Yeah.
As to like Russian culture content, absolutely not. So no music, no movies, nothing like that. Yeah, so no Russian
Do you
content
still have
whatsoever.
anyone there that you're in contact with, or have you lost everybody?
Come again?
Do you still have anybody there
Ah,
that you're in contact with?
uh, you mean like in Russia?
Friends, family, anything?
No, as I said before, we're not in touch
Completely
with
cut.
them, so we
Yeah.
just broke any ties, yeah, burnt all the bridges. As I said, sometimes my father and I, maybe some, I don't remember when, I got some really weird message from my aunt, again, blaming me, accusing me some kind of a bullshit. So, really sick people. No, not in touch with anyone. So, as to the language issue, yeah, that's the kind of a thing that I understand the importance and the value of Ukrainian language. So uh, not fully, but most of the time. I mean, a lot.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
in
I mean,
public,
I think there's a
in
lot of
public
people
at
in the
work.
same situation as you,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
my experience. And I mean, I know from my experience when I was in Ukraine earlier this year, I hear both languages being spoken a lot, often in the same group of people,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, like people just switch between languages quite
Mhm.
easily a lot of the time.
Quite easily, yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's not an issue, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
not a problem.
So I guess my next question would be, how are you feeling about the coming months and the year ahead? How do you see things from where you stand at the moment?
Uh, I don't know. So that's very hard to plan anything, to have some long-term planning to predict. As I said before, you wake up in the morning, you're alive, and it's great. Yeah, but reading the news, you understand what kind of price we're paying. So many great, wonderful, like the beauty of the nation is dying. Really, the best people, we're losing best people, best generation,
Yeah.
and it really hurts. It really hurts a lot. I don't know what I just read different analytics, listen to some kind of so-called experts, whatever. So they say that we should expect some kind of probably changes by the end of the year.
Yeah.
So like still Russia has enough resources, but they are facing really like big significant problems in financial aspects,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
weaponry,
yeah,
techniques. So it's not kind of endless. It's like it's another myth from Russia and.
yeah. Invincible Russia.
Like pushed by Russia that we can fight endlessly. No, so there are limits for sure, and I tend to believe that we maybe probably need to expect something uh, by the end of the year. Maybe some, I don't know. We'll see. Definitely, it's really hard with the current American administration, Trump and company. That's
Yeah,
total
yeah, yeah.
bullshit. I don't know. It's I thought there would be something, like not in favor of Ukraine, but I didn't expect it to such extent, that the guy is total weirdo and just an old man, I'm not kind of
Ageist.
ageist or whatever, but I believe there should be some kind of age
Yeah,
limitation,
I mean,
for
it's like the
sure.
last days of the Soviet Union. It's like watching a bunch of geriatric old
Yeah,
men
the kind
kind
of
of.
Brezhnev and company, these
It's
mummies,
Andropov, you know.
Andropov, yeah, all that gang, right? So really, guy is delusional minds, but at the same time, he's the leader of the biggest and richest country in the world, the most powerful one.
So
Okay, the
I have
politics.
two more quick questions for you. One is just uh, how do you and your students stay sane?
Stay sane.
I mean, I'm listening to you talking, and I know what Ukrainians are experiencing at the moment and what you're all going through. And
Well, that's the power of Ukrainians. We are strong
how do you
and.
cope?
Huh?
How do you cope?
How do we cope? Uh, I don't know. So there is no any secret ingredient in it. Just the wish to live, to survive, and that is our time. We don't have another life. Yeah, maybe we are not that lucky living, being in the epicenter of such historical, I would say, historical tectonical events.
Yeah,
But we do not choose where to be born. And actually, I had an opportunity to move, but before the full-scale invasion. So our company proposed a relocation for all the employees, like temporary relocation, and many people actually took the chance and went to Poland, Croatia, and I also was eligible for this, but. And we talked with my wife, but we decided not to go. Well, first of all, we didn't believe in the full-scale invasion, yeah,
yeah.
and it was pretty hard because we had everything like school, job, uh, like the life itself, yeah. But even if we knew that probably there would be what would they have today, I don't think that we would run away. So
Yeah.
because I love Ukraine. Ukraine is amazing country. We have everything here. Yeah, I mean in terms of the resources, and the most important, we have people. Beautiful, wonderful people, and that's what maybe that's who we are. I mean, Ukrainians. We keep on fighting. We're strong. We won't break. Yeah, they simply it's simply impossible, to conquer us. It's simply impossible, and Russians are just stupid losers. Cannot accept this fact and accept this reality because we will be fighting up to the very end. It's impossible
So,
to defeat
sorry.
us.
My final question would be for people watching outside of Ukraine, what would you suggest people do to show support for Ukraine? What ways can people outside of Ukraine support Ukraine at the moment?
Uh, well, I know that a lot of people keep on supporting us, donating. So the main thing is not to stop doing this. We really feel it. We are really thankful for your help, for your support, for your donations. For really thankful to people like you, Hugh, for your contribution, for your involvement, and not being indifferent. I understand that people get tired, yeah, and as I said before, the war has routinized, and it's impossible to live in the constant this war environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember this great boost of and this huge like tsunami of support and help at the start, 3 years ago. But
Yeah.
it couldn't last forever. It's understandable. It's understandable. Yeah, and I just want to say thank you to all the people that keep on helping us and that helped before. So just don't stop doing this, because if Ukraine falls, but Ukraine will not fall. But if, yeah, just really hypothetical situation. So if we fall, you guys will be next. That's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They
I
won't
mean,
stop. Russia
yeah.
won't stop, and we can see this today. So they send clear signals. People will come to you. We are coming to you, and we need to. And we can see that, like Baltic countries,
Yeah.
Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, they are kind of preparing. They're doing
Yeah.
something, because they understand they could be next,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
may expect anything at any time. And I can say that, well, maybe Europe has woken up, but again, it takes so much time. It took so much time, but again, and all these bureaucratic things, it's so slowly. Yeah. So just guys, you need to, encourage your government to act quicker. I know they listen to you.
Yeah. 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 So, Dmytro, thank you so much. I mean, it's really weird because I've been teaching you for, I don't know, 6 months, a year. I can't remember how long, and we've never had this kind of level of conversation.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I know that.
I've never known this much about your life and your background. So, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
taking
too.
the time to share all of this.
Yeah, my
And
pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you too.
hey, thank
So,
you, and Slava Ukraini.
Heroin Slava.
Take care, Dmytro. Yeah,
Thank you.
speak
Take care.
soon. Okay, papa.
Bye bye.